Hey everybody, what's going on? It has been a while and I apologize. It's been a crazy busy spring here, but it's time to do a couple more videos. And I actually got a message from a buddy of mine who fishes a series that I film asking me if I had tried the SC knot. Now, I've been a massive proponent of the FG knot. From every knot I've tested, when you're joining a leader to a mainline braid, FG is the strongest I have ever done. It's 100% breaking strength, sheerly due to the fact that you are not bending the fluorocarbon in any way, shape, or form, because as soon as you bend fluorocarbon, you compromise it. So the FG knot is like a Chinese finger trap knot. You're keeping your leader straight. It is cinching onto the leader. You get 100% of your leader's breaking strength. So along came this new SC knot. So I did a bit of research. I watched a few videos. Listen, I could be doing it wrong, but from everything I've looked at, it seems to be the right way. There's a couple concerns I have with it, but let me show you the SC knot, and then I want to compare the diameter and the ease of tying an FG knot to an SC knot. So let's get through it. And if you guys haven't, do me a favor, click subscribe below or click the like button. That always helps get these videos out there. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it. Okay, for this purpose, I'm going to be using 30-pound Power Pro Super 8 Slick V2. And the reason I want to use this line, it's got an EBT coating on it, which makes it super slick, hence the name, haha. But that does make it tougher to bite on fluorocarbon. A lot of people complain about all these treated or coated lines having a problem biting onto fluorocarbon. So I want to use a braid that has that coating to see if I can get it to stick. The other part of this, I'm going to use a 20-pound FC leader, fluorocarbon leader. So the reason I choose a leader material rather than a mainline materials are formulated differently than leader materials. Leader material, especially with FC leader, is a higher shock absorption, but it's a tougher, harder fluorocarbon. So it's got better knot strength, better shock absorption, but it is stiffer than your traditional mainline fluorocarbons, which it would make it easier for the braid to bite into if it's softer. Because this is harder, I want to use the two things that I think are going to pose anglers the biggest challenge, and that being a braid with a slick coating and a very hard fluorocarbon. So let's see. Everything I saw about tying this SC knot, sorry, I'm going to get it confused with the FG knot, but the SC knot it's basically a wrapping knot, but a little bit different. From my trying it, I like to sit on the spool to have a bit of tension. Okay, I want to have that little bit of tension in the line in front of me. So stretch out the line where it's comfortable in front of you. That's good for me. The next is you're going to take your braid. You're going to fold it over. Just simply fold your braid over, just like that. And I'm going to pull about 3 inches. You want to do 20 wraps with this. So for me, the way I'm doing this, basically, this is enough right here. I've got 3.5 inches. So I'm going to pull my fluorocarbon leader forward, and I'm going to lay that braid on top of it, the folded over braid. And all you're going to do is pinch it, and you're going to wrap in succession in tight wraps 20 times. 4, 5, 6, 7. And you don't want it to overlap, because that's going to cause a bunching up. Much similar, very similar to an FG knot, where you don't want the braid to climb on top of itself. I found the same thing goes true here. Now, 20 is a bare minimum. What I like to do is make sure that the tag end on the braid here that's left over when I'm wrapping is shorter than the knot itself. And the reason is, if it's longer, it will cause you an issue when you're doing or cinching it down. So here's my wrap. The next thing you want to do is, if you have twisted that end loop of the braid, make sure you untwist it. So I'm going to open that up right here so you can see that's open. I'm going to take my fluorocarbon leader end and slip it through there and basically just walk it over. See what I'm doing here? I'm just walking it right over. Now, the way you serve or cinch down the first part of an SC knot is you have to pull perpendicular to the line. So I'm going to grab the fluorocarbon tag end in my mouth, the 2 braid ends, I'm just going to pull down. And what you see is, when you do that, is it actually unravels. It looks like it's unraveling, but it's tightening itself onto the actual main line. Now you got to serve it. For this purpose, I'm going to use the spools because they're handy. I can always do it with the spool with the fluorocarbon because I don't cut my leader before I tie my knot. I like to leave it on to decide how long I'm going to leave that leader, depending on the fishing situation. In the case of your reel, again, you're going to have the braid on your reel, so you could use your rod and reel or your reel as the pulling partner. So what you want to do is line them up together and basically pull, and you're serving that knot. You can see it's bitten down. The fluorocarbon isn't spinning, and I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on this. Last part, just like an FG knot, is you have to close it. So really pay attention to this section here. You want your braid and your fluorocarbon, so your braid main line going to your reel and your fluorocarbon tag end to be parallel to each other. And I still believe a Rizzuto finish is the best finishing knot for this purpose, whether it's an FG knot or an SC knot. And the reason is it buries your tag end rather than doing a whole bunch of half hitches, which will come undone unless you burn the end or super glue them. The Rizzuto finish allows me to skip all that. So basically, to do a Rizzuto finish, you're going to, here's your tag end. So here's your tag end of your fluorocarbon leader. This is the main line of your braid. I put them together. And then this is the tag end of your braid. You make a D loop, so down, and then you're going to wrap around these two, the main line and the braid main line and the tag end of the fluoro towards the knot 5 times. 2, and I apologize for my fingers. They are a little large, so they get in the way a lot when I'm shooting stuff like this. So don't blame me, blame my parents. All right, so 5 times. And then what you do is you take that tag end of that braid and I pinch it to the knot. And now you're going to unwrap this loop that you've created. And what you're essentially doing is it's like almost like a bobber stop knot. You're burying the braid under 5 rolls. So it's not like a half hitch where it's right at the top. It's actually buried down, and I'll show you with a close-up. But give that a snug pull. Now you can trim your tag end. I'm going to use my sharper scissors. So the leader end right up against the knot, you're going to trim it. And when I trim my braid tag end, I don't cut it all the way down. I want to have about a 1/4 inch because the braid is soft. It's not going to affect your casting in any way, shape, or form. So you can see what I leave there, little 1/4 inch tag end. That will get fluffy and stuff, but the main thing is because it's longer, it's not going to allow that to slip and fall and unravel. So there it is. That is an SC knot. That is 30-pound Power Pro Super 8 Slick V2 to 20-pound Sunline FC leader. It's a good-looking knot. It's tight. It's strong. It has not bent the fluorocarbon. Is it smaller or better than an FG knot? Let's tie a quick FG knot, and I'll show you the comparison between the two. All right, so we've tied the SC knot. To tie an FG knot, it's kind of an opposite process where with the SC knot you're wrapping braid around a straight fluorocarbon. It's actually the opposite with a FG knot where you're taking your braid and you're going to hold it either in your mouth, or I like to tie it up to my rod and put it on the handle of the reel so I have a hand free. You're going to take your fluorocarbon leader. Check this. Okay, that's my fluorocarbon. There's a little knot there. Let me get rid of that. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to hold this braid tag end, and you want to have a bit of tension. A lot of guys will hold it in their mouth and lean their rod away from them, because the importance of having a bit of tension and the proper amount of tension on the end of the braid is that it's going to keep the knot flowing in a smooth direction rather than having the braid climb on top of itself. Like I mentioned, you shouldn't do with the SC knot either. So I'm just going to hold this in my mouth, 15 wraps each side, and we'll cinch it down, and I want to compare the two to see diameter. Okay, so once you get to your wraps and they're all done, you're going to have to lock this one in before you let go. So I'm going to just do a single half hitch around both the tag end of the fluorocarbon and the braid main line. So you can see it right there. And now I can let it go, but now, much like the SC knot, you have to serve it. Because I have the spools here, I could just do it off the spools, which is a perfect way to do it. Now, the importance of an FG knot is you need to get this knot to bite onto the fluorocarbon, and by pulling against each other, you'll notice it's going to tighten up. It actually gets dark, okay? So when that knot gets nice and dark, that means it has bitten on. Finishing it is exactly the same way as I showed you with the SC knot. It's the way I do it. You can do half hitches alternating, but for me, I like to do that Rizzuto finish. So again, the Rizzuto finish, because I get a lot of questions about it. Tag end of your fluorocarbon, main line of your braid. So I'll just bring the braid on this side. And then you've got your tag end of your braid. So if I line up the fluorocarbon tag end and the main line braid and I put them together, I'm going to take that braid tag end, which is the end of the knot, make a downward D loop moving forward, and I'm going to wrap that line around both the main line braid and the tag end of the fluorocarbon 5 times. And the importance is you're heading towards the top of the knot. When you have it 5 times, I basically grab the tag end of the braid and the knot itself, and then you simply unwrap that loop, burying that tag end of braid under 5 layers of braid so it doesn't come out. So that's a Rizzuto finish. Then you proceed to cut your tag end as close as you possibly can without nicking the braid, obviously. So this is where my glasses come in handy. And then just like the SC knot, I'm going to trim a 1/4 inch long, the tag end. Okay, so let's compare the two. They both look very similar if you're looking at both of them, but I do believe there's some differences here, and I could tell you right now, the diameter of the FG knot is smaller than the SC knot. The SC knot is essentially taking double the amount of braid to wrap around the fluorocarbon, so it's going to be naturally thicker. Strength-wise, as long as you get them both to bite, they should be pretty much the same because the fluorocarbon has not been compromised whatsoever. So for strength-wise, should be the same. Ease of tying, I might give a slight advantage to the SC knot for ease of tying, just because pressure seems to be less of an importance. You don't have to lean the rod away from you or have that proper mainline tension on the braid where you can simply wrap it by hand. But time-wise, they're not far off. If you're good at tying an FG knot, I wouldn't switch tying an FG knot. I still trust an FG knot more than I trust an SC knot. And here's where I think the SC knot's going to have major problems. Because when you have to pull down to tighten right off the bat, where you pull perpendicular to the line, if you're using lighter line, like I use a lot of 5-pound Power Pro to 6 or 8-pound fluorocarbon FC leader, I think you're going to break a lot of knots trying to serve it. And if you don't get it tight enough on that initial perpendicular pull, it's not going to bite into the fluorocarbon. So when you go to serve it, it's just going to slip loose. I think it's going to be a nightmare. I know for a fact, I have tested an FG knot everywhere from marlin fishing to pan fishing with ultralight line to trout fishing. And an FG knot does not fail no matter what the pound test, mainline or leader is. I'd have to honestly test the SC knot further, especially on 5 to 8 pound, 5-pound braid to 8-pound fluorocarbon leader to see if it's the same, but I'm not switching. I love the FG knot. I think the FG knot is incredible. It is definitely smaller. I'll show you a side-by-side comparison. But yeah, 2 great knots for attaching fluorocarbon or mono leaders to a braid mainline. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things in fishing is that ability to put a longer leader on, especially in clear water situations. So that's why the FG knot has been #1 for me. If I were you guys, I'd try them both. They both seem like a viable option. Like I said, I think they're gonna have problems. The SC knot is gonna have problems in that lighter line. So for all of the northern smallmouth guys like we fish up here in the north where, you know, we like to fish braid to fluorocarbon, light 5 or 8-pound braid to light 6 or 8-pound fluorocarbon, the FG knot's the clear winner in my mind. So there you have it. Hope everybody enjoys this quick little demonstration. What I would suggest to you guys is give them both a shot. And if you haven't, guys, do me a favor, click subscribe to the channel. I try to do walkthroughs. iCast is right around the corner, which means I will have a ton of new product from Shimano coming on the market that I'm going to do walkthroughs on. And then we have some new jigs and hooks I've been testing from VMC as well that I'll be doing product reviews on. So there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Click subscribe, do me a favor, give it a like. That always helps, and I hope everybody is staying well and you're enjoying the fishing season. We'll talk to you soon.